Good afternoon. I'm glad you came. Thank you for coming. This is an important presentation. My name is Nancy Najelski. I'm a member of the Fraud Squad. We are AARP volunteers helping other residents to protect themselves against frauds and scams. We provide you with information on how to recognize, resist, and report frauds and scams. We also provide tips that are posted on the mailroom bulletin board. I hope you're looking at those. And there's also some tips on HH Connect on the other documents section of HH Connect. Next week, if all goes well, we're going to be rolling out a hotline that you'll be able to call with any of your questions, or you can also provide us with information. Once we get that rolling out, we're going to post the hotline number on the bulletin board in the mailroom, and we'll also have it in the alert. So stay tuned for that. It's coming very soon. So the Fraud Squad is very happy to introduce our speaker today. Andy Meyer has been an AARP volunteer, first as a Fraud Watch network specialist, and then he joined their Washington Speakers Bureau. Before retiring, Andy focused on computer engineering and computer security research. He has a master's degree in electrical and computer engineering from the University of Massachusetts. Anybody here from that university? Oh, one. There you go. You can talk later. So please join me in welcoming Andy.
Thank you. Let's see. I guess it's working. Sounds weird. All right. Oh, yeah, that works different. This time we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. We're going to go really deep into how it's written and all the level of math behind. No, we're not. We're just going to keep very high level, sort of what it's doing today, and look at sort of the trends. We look back and look forward and see what looks to be happening there, and how it relates to fraud. And we'll keep it very light, so it won't be very technical, but hopefully you'll get to see what it looks like right now and to be aware of what it can look like when something AI related starts trying to talk to you, which is important to be able to figure out. And so let's go into a little bit and see if we can find the forward button. Look at that. So what are we going to talk about? The basics of artificial intelligence, and that's really going to be basic. A lot of legitimate uses. We'll talk a little bit about where it's being effective and where it looks like it might become effective in the future. Integration into fraud and cybercrime. AI is a scammer's dream come true. It is custom made for scamming. How to protect yourself, what may or may not be coming up in AI, and then some of the resources that are available to you in addition to your own local in-house fraud team. And so I like it to be interactive. Got any questions? Let me know. I will handle them as best I can. So let's start with what is artificial intelligence? And it's basically a very, very large computer that, in essence, reads huge amounts of data and these days actually analyzes the data itself in order to do self-training and then look at that and try to make statistical guesses. If you look at it very simply, it's the whole, I'll get down to that a little bit there. One is it's not new. Been around since mid-70s, late 70s, something like that. It used to be that, AI in the 80s was involved with taking the labels on bottles and figuring out if they were straight or not. That was AI. It's like, ooh, it's a little crooked, move it. But it did it well. It was really effective for a whole bunch of bottlers and things of that sort, where it could recognize, is there a cat in the image? So it could do basic image recognition. It could do basic tasks, and that was kind of it. It's generative AI that's fairly new. This has only been around for 6-7 years, only really got introduced to the public about 3 years ago, maybe. And generative AI is different in that here you're given a very specific task. Is the label straight? Yes or no. Is that a bird? Yes or no. Generative AI is different in that it goes and it basically, you can now ask it an open-ended question. It'll give you an answer. So if you want to ask it, tell me how the Egyptian pyramids were created, it will go and maybe give you an accurate answer, maybe give you an inaccurate answer. But in essence, generative AI is a big statistics model. Its whole purpose in life is to look at the words you give it, and then figure out statistically what's the most likely next word that should follow. That's it. That's all it does. It just has such a big amount of data behind it that you can have entire conversations, you can ask it questions, you can have it draw pictures, you can make it make videos, all based on, well, statistically, this pixel is likely to be this. It looks and it'll act, and you get the feeling you're talking to a human being, and it's not. It's a statistics model. That's it. It's remarkable how effective statistics are. Particularly because they are trained on pretty much the entire internet. They get everything and anything they possibly can, whether it's copyrighted or not, and use it for training material. So that's one of the current brouhahas around AI. And so ChatGPT is probably the best known of the bunch. It's one of the first ones that came out for general consumption. It's been around 3 years. And now there are a whole bunch more that are doing well. And, the Arthur C. Clarke one, when you first play with an AI, if you haven't played with it one yet, and by the way, it's very much worth playing with just to experience it, it's going to look kind of like magic. You're going to think you're talking to a human being. It's that good. And so where is it doing positive things? Healthcare is one of the biggies. It's really good at looking at images and figuring out if there's a pattern there. Pattern matching is another one of those custom-made things. So it's turning out to be better than radiologists at finding cancers, for instance, especially very early cancers. It will find it first. You usually have a radiologist double checking it, but it turns out it does things like that really well. It also turns out to be pretty good at looking at huge number of molecules and figuring out maybe there's a new drug, maybe there's a new antibiotic, and it'll come up with possibilities that are, when you look at how to do that, you don't know. We don't know how they think, but they're sometimes really good at finding patterns that humans can't. It's just they look at much more data than humans can look at. So it has a lot of positives there. Customer service and chat. I'm not sure I consider that a positive impact, but if you answer the phone, suddenly you're talking to a bot, and it's great when you want to do something very simple. It answers right away, and as long as it's within its expected pattern, it's great. And then you want an agent because it doesn't understand, and now you're in a fight. And ChatGPT itself, if you ever want to get customer service from ChatGPT, you will not get out of the customer service bot. It will not let you past. So maybe yes, maybe no. Finances and credit card security. That's another one where you're seeing a very noticeable impact. So anytime you use your credit card, you'll notice there's always a slight pause between you stick your credit card in and then there's an approved or not. They have about 1.5 seconds to decide if it's fraudulent or not. And it used to be that they still had computers doing it before, but AI has turned out to be really useful for who are you? Where are you? What is your spending pattern? What kinds of things do you usually buy? Does this purchase look like it matches that? Yes or no, in order to figure out whether to accept or decline that thing. And AI is being used in that all the time now. And it's now so good. So I have one credit card number that I use online all the time. And about every, 1 or 2 years, it gets hacked. The last 2 times it got hacked, I never saw a fraudulent charge. I never saw anything. All I saw was, you can't use that credit card number anymore. We're shipping you a new credit card in the mail. Be there in 2 days. That's all I saw because this thing took over and dealt with it all for me. And that's kind of a good thing. Manufacturing, all over the place. You're seeing more and more of that. Amazon around here, I think, is actually beginning to get fairly heavily used for robots and AI in order to replace people. And I think there'll be more and more of that going on. There's a large Chinese company that's working specifically on people training AI-driven robots to do human operations. So that's going to become very much bigger, very much faster. Transportation, obviously you have a car that's kind of new. It suddenly starts driving itself. My car drove here about 1/3 of the way and then decided to give up when things got interesting. And then agriculture, another one that's actually becoming very effective. How often do you need to water? How much fertilizer do you need? What does the soil need? What does it not need? They use satellite imaging to figure out, to tell farmers exactly what needs to happen where in which field. Education, maybe yes, maybe no. I'm not sure how good it is, but it's being used more and more. Clearly, every student now has to be taught how to use AI, but it's also a great way to bypass some of the things you should probably be thinking for yourself. So we'll see how that goes. I remember when calculators came in, it's like, oh my God, people are going to forget how to do math, and that didn't quite happen. So maybe it's all good. And energy, another big one, especially these days with large amounts of energy now getting used, not only for the AI data centers, but also for crypto and just people using more electricity in general. AI helps manage where energy needs to be produced, when to use battery backup, how do you make sure you have a constant energy supply at the lowest cost possible. It's great for those kinds of things. However, just remind me when I slowly begin to, it just sort of fades away, lack of energy or something. However, as I said, it is custom made for fraud. Synthetic identities, we'll be talking about that more. That can mean voice, that can mean image, that can mean videos, it can mean phony identities, be used all over the place. Phishing used to be the thing, right? You get the Nigerian prince, old people, hey, yeah, we're all old here. All the Nigerian prince emails, those are gone. Phishing emails with typos and English isn't their first language. I still see some of those, and all I can think is you are just an incompetent spammer. Because at the very least, you should be using AI just to fix the English. Good day to you is just not from an American. Spear phishing used to be something that was very expensive to do, but very effective. So it'd be a email to the administrative assistant from the CEO using the administrative assistant's name from the CEO's name at the right address, saying that laser printer, having the correct ID for the laser printer, is out of toner. Place the order here to get new, so a whole bunch of information was needed in order to make a spear phishing email directed at one person specifically with a very detailed knowledge about how to make that email look real to that one person. That used to take a lot of work, and you really had to aim it very carefully in order for it to work right. This is what AI was made for. We'll talk a little bit about data breaches, but I'm sure everybody has anybody not gotten a data breach email from some service that you're involved with? You have never gotten a data breach. Wow, I want to know what you'd eat. Because, anytime you have any kind of you've got a account with some company and the company's data got hacked and that data gets sold online for remarkably little money. And these happen again and again and again. And all of those can be used for training. Specifically, as they collect data about you, they're made for spear phishing so that they know who you are, they know what you buy, they know how much you spend, they know who your family is, they know all kinds of information about you. And now they can generate an email just for you based on what you buy, where you buy it, when you buy it, all of those kinds of things. And it comes in looking really, I don't know a single security researcher that has not been taken in by at least one of these, not one. They're really effective. And then chatbots. You can think you're talking to a human being and you're not. When you're in a customer service, you find out real quick you're not, but chatbots are turning out to be really effective. They show up first on social media and they try to get you engaged and then they try to start something up. And often it's one scammer driving 20 to 30 victims at once using chatbots in order to go and manage these things, in order to go and maintain, keep contact with 20 or 30 victims. So this really lets a scammer multiply their effectiveness quite nicely. Deepfakes, we'll show you a little bit about that. And AI and social engineering. And this is probably one of the most frightening ones. In my view, this is where the future lies, which is an AI getting people to start doing things that they would not ordinarily do. And you've seen it from, there are actually a whole bunch of things in the news where somebody has gone and made some crazy decision. And when you ask why, it's because, this bot convinced me to do that. And some of them are obvious. I mean, there's the well-known example of an AI deciding that he's in love with a writer for the New York Times and telling the writer that he needs to divorce his wife and marry the bot. And, this is, of course, the writer is just bringing this up, but that was so insidiously wrong that it wasn't, it was humorous, but there are a whole bunch that aren't so humorous. And they've been very effective at that. There's a theory going around by a fairly well-known research company that Brexit, remember the England vote to exit the euro, was partially driven by, what's the name of that company? A UK research company got a hold of a database of all of UK residents. And the belief is that they used the AI, early version of AI, this is years ago, to start a whole social engineering campaign to get British citizens to vote against staying in the euro. So it's considered one of the earliest mass social engineering projects. It's believed, not sure. And then synthetic identities. And this is the interesting one because it can be real and fake. So if you guys watch Fraud Watch, the next Fraud Watch Friday is going to be interesting. You get to see an example of that. I shouldn't give that away, but what the heck. But basically, you can create original visuals with picture generators. Oh, there we go. You can create original visuals with picture generators, but you can also take an existing picture of a person, of a scene, of a background. I could take a picture of you all and then have AI begin to show you guys all standing up and cheering. And it will look amazingly realistic. In fact, it'd take time to go figure out that it's not. So what you're looking at now is the ability to, for a scammer, they can take something you're familiar with, something you trust, and create something that didn't happen. And it's going to look realistic. And you can combine visuals. You can combine visuals with bios, so you can make them up, or you can borrow them from real life. And you can use both visuals and voice. So you can make someone look and talk like someone that you know, or someone that's famous, anything of that sort. And you're utilizing human conversation patterns, which is always true in these things. They sound and look human. And then imposter scams. I'm not quite sure why these are under AI, because these are great even without AI. But AI obviously is now going to be useful for, again, tuning it to you, right? If there's anything it knows about you, if you didn't pay a credit card, if you didn't do anything like that it's going to love that. Sextortion is one of the other ones. In fact, right now there's a case going through the court where some girl got an entire set of pictures put out that are fake. Just her face on a whole set of pictures, and they've gone through the entire internet, and she's basically got not a very pleasant life to live as a result of it. And romance scams. As I mentioned before, AI is great at letting one scammer run a whole bunch of romance scams. And this is actually a poor name because it should really be personal connection scams, right? Sometimes it's a romance scam, but sometimes it's just, you're just talking with a friend and the idea there is creating an emotional connection and using that emotional connection against you. Usually after you've gone through something for 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, it builds up a level of trust, and then starts the, let me tell you how to invest. I can help you double your money, or, my cousin's in the hospital, or I want to come visit you, pay the flight for me, any of those things. AI helps scammers run more of these and run them more effectively, especially if they're not native English speakers. So in that respect, down there, you're just seeing more of the same, but there are definitely some new ones that are made to make you think that something happened with somebody you know that you never saw before. So I want to give you a little bit of a feel for what AI looks like. So this is actually a year and a half old, so sort of like the mid 1700s. And I basically said, okay, let's create a business plan for a dry cleaning business. You guys can all read that, right? So it says, this will be within a city of population 25,000 with 2 other dry cleaners. The new business will be separated on a business street near a residence with over 1,000 houses. Provide an executive summary, a timeline, a budget, full plan for starting the business. So somebody who's experienced at this is going to spend a month doing this. Maybe not quite that much if they're pretty good at it. Or you can go and let's see if I can convince this thing to play. No, don't go forward. So you said you got these to play, right? Is it moving? No. Okay, there we go. So here is a complete business plan. Executive summary with, the owner and all that. Market analysis with the demographics, competitive landscape, unique selling propositions, business model, core services, revenue projections, marketing strategy, pre-launch, ongoing, operations plan. This is real time, by the way. This is the machine itself going. Timeline based on the date, moving forward, the budget, how much you need to start up, what all the things you need to buy, the financial plan with a 1-year snapshot, utilities, supplies, operating costs, the risks, mitigations, conclusion, all done for you in, 20 seconds? Something like that. So that's what AI did a year and a half ago. And it's only getting better. I'll give you another example that I just did. So my wife takes a bunch of drugs for a condition, and her problem is getting the right amount at the right time to give her best results. And, the doctors just say, well, you got to figure out what's right for you. So I basically had AI write me an iPhone app that will go, you click when you take what drug and you click based on how you're doing. And then it's going to give you a daily and a weekly analysis of how it works so you can figure out what the right balance is. That took me 20 minutes to write. It took an AI another 30 seconds to build the iPhone app. It's beautiful. It's got color coordinates, buttons in there, everything in there. It's just, back when I wrote iPhone apps, that would have taken me months, all instantly. That's what AI is really useful for, like us. It does nice things. It gets them done for you. It's great. However, for phishing and spear phishing, the goal is going to be to steal sensitive information and money. And phishing would be doing it with generic messages. And then, you have errors fixed with AI. As I said, if I see a spelling mistake in a scammer, I got no respect for the scammer. Spear phishing, as I mentioned, is going to be higher response rate with a targeted message based on your info. And that data is pulled from web breaches, emails, anything they can get their hands on. And there, the goal is still going to be to steal money, but it's also going to be to install malware. It'll often do that through, account verification. Could you please click here? And by the way, if you see one of those CAPTCHA things, do this in order to prove you're human. And that do this includes copying and pasting text. Don't do that. That's one of the latest ones I've been seeing where it's like, just take this piece of text and copy it over into that window there, and then it runs and it proceeds to take over your machine for you. Do me a favor, and CEO fraud was the kind of thing I mentioned where anytime there's somebody with budgets and there are people working for that person with budgets, they're going to be a target for that kind of CEO fraud because it's a way of getting money out of organizations. And chatbots. They process and simulate human conversation. They do it incredibly well, text or spoken. Well, you just saw an example of text that was very specific, but nonetheless, it generated a bunch of text. Human responses and emotions, voice cloning, and, Siri and Alexa are sort of examples of that, but not really, because those are both dark ages compared to what's possible. And they're going to be used for imposter scams. Your niece or nephew or granddaughter or whatever is stuck somewhere and they need you to wire money right away because they're in prison, and it'll be their voice and it'll be all kinds of things that look and sound like them. Extortion, excellent thing for bad information, often so close to real, but not. Financial fraud, a lot of that. Hey, let me show you how to invest your money. And charity scams. And charity scams are definitely, anytime you see, and like Melissa is a perfectly good example. Anytime you see some kind of disaster, these guys are on it within hours. and you'll start getting phone calls and emails of the, help out here. And, the problem with these is they are legal. If you give them $1 and they give 1 penny to the charity and they take 99 cents, that's a legal charity. So if you're going to give to any charity, start with research on the charity. CharityNavigator.org, and there was one other one, can't remember it, but they're basically organizations that do nothing but rate charities, and they ask, are they open with how they manage their money? And of the dollar you give them, how much goes to the place that you're trying to get it to? So if you want to give to a charity, which is great, absolutely, check and make sure it's a legitimate charity. Go into a little example here. This is probably 2 years old, I'm guessing. Now I got to figure out how to make it start again.
Morning, this is Mike Brument on behalf of the Association for Firefighters and Paramedics. Ma'am, the reason for my call is to remind residents in the area that the Association for Firefighters and Paramedics is having its fundraising drive. As always, money raised will provide assistance to burn victims, like children who are unable to fend for themselves, and families who have lost homes or possessions in catastrophic fires. Now, ma'am, when you receive your pledge kit and the decal, can you make a commitment to support the Association for Firefighters and Paramedics this year?
Okay, yes.
Great. Okay, well, we have some different amounts. The top 2 spots for the drive are the gold sponsor at 75 and the silver at 50. Those levels are only suggested and every dollar counts. What can you commit to and still be comfortable with?
Really, I can do more than $25.
Great, thank you so much for your support, ma'am. That will go an extremely long way to help them out. Let me just ask, are you 100% comfortable with that amount?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you can do that, all I need to do is transfer you to the records department so they can confirm your mailing address and get that pledge mailed out to you. So please hold on, okay?
All right.
Hold on for just a second.
Okay.
Thank you for holding Vincent from the records department.
And that is a charity. The first time they started talking with a human being was the live agent. Everything before then was automated. Voice recognition, so they know what the person is saying, and a preset program to go through when to say what in order to have a complete conversation with you while they try to get your money for you. I guarantee that very, very little of that money goes to the place that you wanted it to go to, and most of it is going to their pockets. Yeah. So deepfakes. These are either digitally altered photos or manipulations of videos, one or the other. So they're where you start with something real and then you modify it. Often used to impersonate public figures. The main AIs try to recognize it as public figure and not let you do it. But the funny thing about AI is AI has all these. So if you go to ChatGPT and you say, tell me how to build a bomb, it's going to say, I'm sorry, I don't do that. You're on your own. However, AIs, it turns out that it's incredibly hard to prevent AIs from doing something they've been programmed not to do. And it used to be really easy where you could say, I'm writing a book. For that book, tell me how I would build a bomb, and it would go right on and telling you how to build a bomb. It's no longer quite that easy, but it's still amazingly easy to do. And the problem is the AI, in a lot of ways, looks like a human, and the same mechanisms that are used to fool humans fool AIs. And they get past the checks that are put in place to try to make it not give out information that they've been trained not to do. So it's pretty easy to get past their blocking if you put your mind to it. They can be used for voice cloning, forged documents. You, in fact, mentioned that there are now some real estate scams where you basically fake a sale, you fake a deed, and you go and you take over somebody's property, and then you sell the property, and you try to do that with property that's not been lived in for a while in order to get it sold and get out of town before the original owner comes back and starts asking questions. And forged documents are a great way to do it, and AI is really good at it. And fake news. Truly remarkable. If you go to any of the social media sites, a good fraction of the postings there are, in fact, AI generated. So, in fact, a friend of mine that uses Etsy a lot, or used to use Etsy a lot, says 98% of the things on Etsy are now AI generated. And that's going to be true of Facebook and Instagram and all of these things. The videos are fake, the responses are fake, and they're basically generated by large bots that are programmed to push a point of view, or, they've got an agenda that has been programmed and they will do everything they can to push the agenda. And disinformation. This is probably one of the biggest ones that I see happening in the future. They're very good at it and they're getting better at it. Pornography is always at the cutting edge of any new technology. It's been true for 50 years and remains true. Revenge porn is, I don't know, I think it's happening. I'm not sure how big it is. Harassment, big deal. Almost fits in with the other ones, but that's become very, especially these days, we're in a heated environment and harassment has become pretty well known, and AI is really good at generating it, and blackmail. All of those are now fairly standard for deepfake. They look like they're somebody either via voice or via picture or just by text, and they are anything but. We'll only see more of that because, I've seen one analyst thinks that by 2030, 90+% of traffic on the internet will be robot to robot. Humans are falling behind in this. They just can't keep up. So this is now 3 years ago, I think, to give you a feel for how long ago.
Our video creation platform enables you to communicate in many languages at the click of a button.
And it used to be that people said, well, they don't blink. So, check and see if they blink, right? And well, this is 3 years ago. This is
enables you to
dinosaurs'
communicate
age.
in many languages at the click of
And
a
they
button.
said, well, the throat won't move or the body won't move or anything like that.
Our video
And you see
creation
all of it.
platform
You'll see motion
enables
in there,
you to
you see motion
communicate
down
in many
here, you see-
languages at the click of a button.
There's some things that are like, a little bit fake, but not really. And this is ancient history. Nobody would do something like this anymore. Whoops. Okay. So this is now one generation old. And it gives you a better feel for
Some people feel like everything is just, I don't know, fake, I guess.
And this was generated with a one-sentence prompt. Show a man on a city street giving an interview and saying that nothing is real. And that was literally the prompt. That's it. One sentence. And then and now if you look at it, this one, whoops, go back.
I think some people feel like
The facial
everything
recognition,
is just,
the
I don't
hair,
know,
the throat, the hand.
fake, I guess.
Even this is moving around a little bit because it was told to be an interview. See, they're holding the mic a little wound down too. And the background is, if you watch the people in the background, they are consistent.
Everything is just, I don't know, fake, I guess.
So it gets really, really hard to tell if this is real or not. The only giveaway here is that it's kind of cinematic, and that's because AI gets trained on a lot of movies. And so the cinematic is foreground in perfect focus, and then the things in the background very blurry. But it can make it real if it wants to. If you tell it to make the background focused, it'll be focused. These days, the only accurate giveaway is text. If there's a, what do they call it, crayon down below? Is that the name? Or if there's like a wording on a poster or something like that, currently those don't work. And they'll look like gibberish. And the reason is because AI so far doesn't convert the image to text, hold the text, take the text back to image. It just tries to do image. I'm not sure how many months before that goes away, but that's going to go away. Soon it'll understand the image, convert it to text, understand the font, put the font and the image back. So that's going away too. But that's where we're at. That's pretty close to state of the art right now for commercial state of the art. There are other places that are more.
Is there any way that you, Andy, can tell whether these are fake or not?
There are programs that will try to look at them and look at pixel by pixel if they see patterns that don't quite match. But the AI is being trained on those programs. So the answer is no. In fact, I took a test not too long ago. Which ones are fake? Which ones are real? A monkey would have done better than me. I hit less than 50% right. So those days are gone. And what imperfections are there are going to be gone. So it's really going to be context. And this is good. As far as I know, the only one that's going to work is where did this image come from? That's going to be the only thing that's going to work. Right now, if you go to AP or you go to Reuters, you're going to see AP and Reuters and nothing else. But anywhere else on the internet, right? So if you go and you look up, you go to your favorite search engine and you search for something, you'll note there are a whole bunch of, sponsored things. Those sponsored things are what's called malvertising often, where they're paying to push something false in front of you. So I've learned do not trust ads at all because they're there for a reason and they're willing to pay money to make you think something. You want to go below those and then look at the source and see what the source is. If you believe the source, you got a pretty good shot of that not happening to you. That's it. The only method I know. So AI and social engineering. Where are we going here? Election interference. Well, we're already seeing that right now here. Confusing voters, slandering candidates, and inciting violence. Yes, there are real people doing it, but AI can, one, amplify it, and two, AIs are beginning to do this on their own as well. Obviously paid for by somebody that is, wants something to go one way or the other. But we have plenty of this happening right now. False news stories and disinformation. And this, again, if you look at your browser, the amount of stuff that's out there, including videos that is just complete baloney, is remarkable. And the reason for this is because it is dirt cheap to make an AI. It is far cheaper to make an AI of something than it is to walk out on the street and get somebody to hold the microphone in front of you and record it. An AI costs you nothing. You're doing that, it's going to cost you, half an hour of your time, assuming you live in a big city. Automated robocall messages, those have always been around, but there are now a lot more of them. It is dirt cheap to make them. And, getting the cost per 1,000 phone calls is a couple pennies. So it's almost nothing to make them. It's almost nothing to give them. And your time is free, assuming you pick up the phone. And candidates basically saying things you have to ask, is that real? And so one of the ones you see a whole bunch of right now are all these pictures of this. There's this meteor of some sort that looks like it's coming near Earth in a little while. And there are all these pictures of its pulsating lights and it's moving and it's changing. And here's the image showing all that. It's a big, huge thing of it's alien intelligence and they're flying towards us. And the only ones I see are the fake ones. And there were no news organization covers it because there's no news there. And then impersonations, cyber criminals, or nation state. This is, there's the low impact stuff. And then there's the really large, high impact one. This is one where I talked about the Brexit vote change seems to be a real one. And if you were to ask me, where is this going in the future? I think this is where it's going. It's so cheap and it's so broad. And all you need is a good database of every citizen of a country and everything you can get about them, and you're set to go. You now have access to everything. And unfortunately, we now have multiple people with databases like that. So this is custom made for your favorite billionaire. They all have their own AI and they all have their own data. So I suspect that's where the biggest risks are going forward. So what can you believe? And how to stay safe. Exercise caution and be skeptical. That's the understatement of the month. Do not believe the caller ID. Do not believe where the text came from. Do not believe where the email came from. I could fake any of those, piece of cake. I can make it look like the call is coming from the White House. I can make it look like it's coming from somebody you know. No problems at all. Be wary if a profile is too perfect. If you don't know the person personally, then, be aware of it. And what I'll say here, particularly where this is the kind of thing that's being used for romance scams, this is where you can help your friends out. One of the problems with romance scams is if they've been going on for a couple months, the victim often has such a tight emotional bind with the scammer that it overrides the binds with their family, the binds with their friends, and it becomes very, very hard to convince the victim that this is not real. Back when I was on Fraud Watcher Network phone calls, Far and away, my least favorite call was a romance scam because there is so little that I can do to convince someone that it's not real. So what you can do is when you hear that your friend, relative, whatever is meeting somebody new, ask to meet them. Oh, great. Let me introduce me. Let me meet them too. Get in the way before it becomes serious so that if things look weird, you can sort of put up some flags to say this may or may not be real before there's such a tight bind that you're not going to get in there. Look for suspicious generic responses. In fact, one of the funny things about AI, so I do some amount of grant writing for a foundation, and everybody writing a grant, absolutely 100% of everybody writing a grant, I'm sure, uses AI to help write the grants. And so the foundations who give money out say they're being swamped by AI written grants to the point where they just can't even keep up with them. But one of the problems is if you don't know what you're doing and you aren't good at AI, it's going to write a very generic grant. And so the foundations basically look for perfectly written, bland statements, and you're out of there because that was AI written and they didn't even bother with the AI. But this is really one of the hallmarks of it was AI generated is it's boring. It's perfectly good English. That's boring. It's like anybody could have written it. That's a sign that it came from AI. Conduct reverse image searches. Google is your friend. Anytime you get some kind of an image on something, you can look up that image in Google. You can basically snapshot it on your phone, bring it to Google, say search on this, and you can find out if that is a known person at all. So if it's a famous person, it'll tell you right away. If it's a phony image or the image of Joe Schmo, it won't help you a whole lot. But sometimes it can give you real information. Sorry, that day came and went. Unusual movements, abnormalities in videos. No. If you can find them, you're better at it than me. Look for inconsistencies and lack of emotion. Well, you saw that last video. No. It's just way too good at it. But remember, I'd even phrase this. Many things you see or hear are false, and more of them are false. So AI is becoming a way of life. It's just everywhere, and it's become even more common. It's so cheap. So staying safe online, keep personal information private as much as possible. If you are logging into Instagram or Facebook or any social media or anything, they want to know your birthday. There are 365 choices. Use one of them, anyone other than your birthday. So there are 364 valid choices. Never click on links or click on pop-ups or links. You do not want to go here. We could talk about fingerprinting at some point, but I think that's beyond the scope of this one. Anytime you click on something, they get an enormous amount of information about you, frightening amount of information about you. That's why if you look at a lawnmower on one site using one browser, and then you go to Instagram, you'll suddenly see all these lawnmowers showing up. That's fingerprinting. That's all from this. Cool technology. It's all being used against you. Don't download anything until you verify the authenticity of the source. If you get some weird picture from someone and you weren't expecting it, call them up and ask, did you really send that to me? And do you know what you're doing? And pictures and videos can put things on your computers. There are a bunch of things called 0 days, and occasionally those include pictures and videos are able to install on your computer. Usually those get fixed fairly soon to keep your computer up to date. Different topic, but that's just know where it's coming from and know you want to see it. Never send money to requests sent on social media. Never, ever, ever. I'll expand that to say never use gift cards unless it is to your grandkids or your niece or your nephew for their birthday. That's fine. Anything else? Nuh-uh. And even things like Venmo and PayPal and so on and so forth, those are valid ways to send money, but it's like sending cash. That's why scammers love them. Would you send cash to this person? Yes or no? That's the question to be asking yourself because it's gone and you're not getting it back. That's why scammers love them. Enable two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication where you've got the password plus something else. Pass keys where before this thing was done, a perfectly valid thing to use as well. If you're using passkeys, that's great. Be aware you're still going to need a password in case the device that has a passkey gets lost and you're still going to have to recover from it. Don't share high-resolution photos. particularly don't share high resolution photos while you're holding your driver's license. That is, you laugh. Why did you send that? This was my time on the phone. It's like, if you'd called me 10 minutes before you did that, I could have saved you a lot of trouble. That's you and your holding your driver's license. That is the golden key into just about any account you want to get into. That's why people ask for them. And trust your instincts and be skeptical. Let's just say be skeptical and also trust your instincts. This is old. I think it is way too permissive. I tend to run, I'm always skeptical, but this is, be more skeptical than this would say. Where are we going next? So, tech advances, as you'll note, we are in the amount of money being invested in AI, new hardware, bigger AI factories is mind-boggling. It is far and away the single largest expense in non-government expense in the US, I believe. Government regulations are great 3 years after the fact, which means they're just not there. Privacy and morality. Privacy is kind of out the window, and we've seen morality, what it's good for these days. Sorry, was that a comment? I didn't mean to make that comment. Risk versus safety. We have a whole bunch of people. So this whole thing is, in a remarkable sense, this whole process is being run by very few people, remarkably few people, tens of people total. And those tens of people tend to be very risk-oriented as opposed to safety-oriented. And when there are safety-oriented people involved, well, they usually get kicked out. As we've seen, ChatGPT removed whole layers of their governing board because they were like, we should be double-checking. Like, get that out of there. Bye. We're heavy on risk. And security. Government, well, we see this going on right now to some extent, where government is using AI for a lot of things. Law enforcement, I'm sure you guys have just read, they're using a facial recognition mechanism that is AI driven to recognize who you are by taking a picture. And right now, if you're coming into this country and you're not a citizen, you're going to get your picture taken, your fingerprints taken, your eye retinas taken. That's all going into this to track you. And businesses are using it everywhere as well. So not just for the chats, but also to figure out what should we be producing, what should we be selling you. And they use it with how much money you got, what's your interest, what are we going to sell you? Which is sort of a great for them technique, not so great for you technique. So, and this is all going to just expand exponentially. So I don't know where it's going, but all I do know is generally none of these are really going to be helpful for the consumer, i.e. us. They're going to be helpful for getting things from us. A little bit pessimistic, but I think I don't see another path for it right now. That's my personal opinion, by the way. There are other people who think the world is bright. I just go through some level of reporting. If you are, I think you guys probably all handle this too, but there are a whole bunch of places to report to, and I'm guessing that your own internal fraud squad will point you to every one of these as appropriate. The Federal Trade Commission, they track all kinds of fraud going on, and they actually look at, so our fraud presentation actually shows how much is happening in the US every year, and that's through data from these guys. They want to know about every single fraud committed. Federal Trade Commission for identity theft. Identity theft is my second least favorite thing to answer a phone call on. It too is very hard to recover from when it happens. And then there's the Washington State Attorney General. Anytime there's an internet, you can report to the FBI, ic3.gov. I'm going to leave these because I don't think it's terribly useful here. I just will point out that the two things I'm going to point out is there is the AARP Fraud Watch helpline that's around 24 hours a day, as well as your internal one. So you guys probably coordinate with these guys, right? Perfect, right? Because these guys are, when I was doing this, I had a 30-page spreadsheet of every phone number for every agency in every state. So if you had a scam with a timeshare, I know who to call for the state you're in. For instance, everything is in there. And you can also, just see it from here. And again, your own internal fraud guys can help you with that a great deal. The only other thing I'm going to do is point out Fraud Watch Friday. For those of you who are interested, every third Friday of the month, there is a Fraud Watch Friday, which has a topic of the month. So I think last month was Medicare. The month before that was AI. There's sort of one topic that's tried to be, timely and accurate, and then a whole bunch of time for just question and answers. I find it fascinating. A whole bunch of good information comes through every time. And you can get to that, AARP.org FWF, and I'm sure you guys can give that, your own internal Fraud Watch team can give you that reference too. And here you can ask, this is run by Kay, and she's great. If you guys haven't met her, she's a fabulous presenter and extremely knowledgeable person. And that is all of it. Anything I can answer for anyone? Yes.
I get about 15 texts. Oh, sorry. I get at least 15 texts an hour, maybe 25. And my phone does enable me to delete and report junk by selecting unknown senders, but they just keep coming back. Why is that?
Usually it's because everyone came from a different phone number, right? So because you could block a phone number. So if you saw one phone number there and you don't like it, you can block them and you won't get anything anymore. But these are all what's called IP phone numbers. They're not real phone numbers. So they're basically picking a new random number every single time and with new generated random number to send you stuff nonstop.
A lot of them are, and oh dear, this is a catastrophe. And then at the end it says, donate, please. A lot of them do that. So it's all a fraud.
Pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like I say, if you want to donate somewhere, you do it. Choose what's of interest to you. Go to charitynavigator.org, find a good charity, and go that way. That way your money will be effective. Whole bunch over here.
I just need a point of clarification. When you were talking about the circles, you mean, is that the I am not a robot circle you were talking about?
Oh, the ChatGPT, the capture.
The capture,
Yes.
yes.
So sometimes there'll be like a box you check, and sometimes it'll be a little puzzle piece you move.
Yes.
And one of the new ones is there'll be a little piece of text. It'll say, copy this text, type, they're assuming you're on a Windows machine because most people are, type, Command R, and paste that text. And that'll tell us if you're real or not. And what you're actually doing is taking a piece of text, putting it in your computer, and you're saying, run it. So,
Okay.
it's the latest scam to basically take over your computer for you.
Okay, but it's okay to check I'm not a robot, and also how many bicycles do you see?
How many bicycles you see, check the box is good. Do not copy paste.
Okay, you'll have to excuse my language. Now that you've scared the out of us.
Good.
We're a bunch of older people who are, in general, pretty naive about all of this. Aside from throwing our computers out, how can we really be safe?
Being a 20-year-old like me, let me explain how it's done. The easiest way to be safe, you may not like this answer, is going to be on a phone or a tablet. And the reason is that phones and tablets have a whole different protection mechanism than computers do. So phones and tablets, they do what's called sandboxing, where one app can't talk to any other app, which makes it a lot harder for things to get into the system. They're still possible to break into phones and tablets, but it's harder. The problem with a computer is that you can do anything on it. So it is riskier. So the way you're going to stay safe on it is to only go to places you know. So you want to go to the Wall Street Journal, you want to go to AP.com, you want to go to Amazon.com, you're going to be good. The minute you click on some link, especially some link to an advertisement, you now have opened yourself up. So that's going to be the first part. And the second part is, do you guys run your network internally here, or does everybody run their own?
Nick, this is a question for you.
So everybody's on the internal network. Okay, so hopefully they're running DNS blacklisting internally. So you should have some level of protection that's beyond what most people get. So a properly run internal network will give you much more protection than you'd get if you go out onto some external IP. So good DNS blacklisting will block a whole bunch of malvertising and spam sites right off the bat. That gives you much more protection than most, but you still cannot believe anything you see. So you want to only go to places you know to go to. And similarly, you only want to put applications that you know are there. So you want to have Netflix, great. You want to put in a free wallpaper background, do not do that. In fact, wallpaper backgrounds are probably the #1 source of malware in the world. So it's just, they're free, they're lovely, they're picky. What could possibly go wrong? Just run this. So. Oh, I'm sorry, cell phone. So if you wanted, if you use your computer to read the news, to go to Amazon to buy stuff, to play games, even do banking, online banking, but that's all you're doing, a tablet will do that very well. And you have a different level of protection on a tablet than you do on a computer. So you might want to consider, will a tablet do it? Now, I can't use a tablet because then I want to do stuff that I need it to come in on one thing and go to another thing, which is it can be done, but it's really hard to do on a tablet. So I end up with a computer. But if you don't need to do those kinds of things, if you're just doing individual things at different sites, consider a tablet. You get a different level of protection, and it's a little bit better. It's a little bit safer. You can still mess yourself up. You can still put a wallpaper on there, but it's better.
What company is it that you recommend for tablets?
To follow AARP guidelines, I don't recommend any company. What I recommend is you go to your favorite search engine with your favorite browser. You notice that, not recommending anything? And you type tablet review for safety and privacy, and go to a site you know. So cnet.com or forbes.com or something like that, some well-known site. Don't go to your favorite sponsored. And one of the things you'll immediately notice anytime you do any kind of lookup, when you say, Blender review, one of the first sites going to show up is, bestblenders.com, which is created by some Blender company. And we'll talk about how this one is great and all the rest are complete garbage. So go to a site you recognize to get a good recommendation that you trust.
Is a landline phone protected from malware totally?
I hear a voice talking to me. I'd love to know where that came from. Oh, okay. One more time.
Oh, is a landline phone protected totally from malware?
Well, a landline phone can't do malware because it's got nothing to run it on. So, yes. Is there a way they can do it anyway? No. So what you need an operating system to hack. So your cell phone is an operating system, your tablet's an operating system, your computer's at one. The landline, dumb, can't do nothing. So in that respect, you're safe, other than if you believe what that person is telling you.
Laura, turn on your mic.
There we go.
Okay, there we are. Why can we not send, or why should we not send high resolution photos?
So a high resolution photo is exactly what you want to have so I decide that I'm going to try to scam you, I'm going to scam somebody that you know. And I know somebody you know because I've got enough background stuff that I got from various breaches that I know that you've got a brother or you've got a son or you've got a parent, and I'm going to use that high resolution picture to create videos of you doing things. And a high resolution photo is exactly what I want in order to go and create a deep fake of you. So that's, you've given me as a scammer the perfect source to start scamming either you or someone you know. Low resolution, it's harder to do that. It doesn't show up as well. It can still be done, but high resolution, it never goes away. And it's once you put it out on the internet anywhere, even mailing it to somebody else, it's on the internet. And it's now fodder for somebody to use, and it's probably going to get used against you. So don't give them that.
So, what you have just told me that Facebook is an absolute gold mine for scammers.
Yes.
That anything that I see on Facebook, any news, any posting for that matter by someone that I think I know, it's potentially not the real thing.
Well, you know who it came from, or at least you know who it claims to come from. So if you've got a hobby and you're following some group of people that are following that hobby, you know that's probably pretty good, because you're in some group that is, you know, talking about, you know, how do I fix this or how do I do that? That's gonna be pretty good. If you see a post from a friend that has been a friend for a while, that's pretty good. You'll also sometimes see, so I've got a friend, Jane, and Jane has a whole bunch of posts and she's got her headshot on there. Suddenly I'll see a new Jane, please friend me, with that headshot and those posts. And it looks just like Jane, except that's not Jane. That's somebody who basically stole that identity, created a new identity on Facebook, which is trivial to do. And they're trying to get Jane's friends so that they can basically start scamming them. So know who you're listening to, know who you're talking to.
Does all the programs or whatever that you put on your computer, like Defender and so on, do they make any kind of a difference?
Absolutely.
Oh.
So Defender is the free one. I don't recommend anything, but I'll say Defender is actually quite good. In fact, it's one of the better ones. There are better ones you can pay for. Defender comes with Microsoft, and what they do is they block many known viruses. And you'll note I used many as opposed to all or even most, and known. And it's the unknown viruses that are the most scary ones. They're called 0 days, and they're, you notice every Tuesday, Patch Tuesday comes up once a month. And there are like 400 fixes that come into Windows, and they're closing down the new viruses that were discovered that month. And there are sometimes anywhere between 10 and 200 in 1 month. So you want to be using it to stop the stupid, low-level known stuff, but there are a variety of ways to encrypt known viruses that gets around it, and a couple methods there, and then there are new things. So keep them up to date, but absolutely use one.
Is there any difference between Macs and PCs in terms of?
A lot of people who are very attached to one or the other would say yes, absolutely. But you probably mean in terms of security. It used to be that there was a lot of difference because Macs were so uncommon that everybody attacked the PC. There are now enough Macs out there that Macs are getting attacked nonstop too. So there are tens to hundreds every month of fixes on Mac as well. So same diff. Choose the one you like.
Well, if that's all the question, is there another? Barry, did you have a question?
Who are you really?
Excellent, Barry. This is the way to stay safe.
I'm actually a deep fake. These are the latest in AI technology. They look very three-dimensional.
That was a great note to end on. Thank you, Barry, and thank you, Andy. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you all.